we're going to cover the 4 things that you need to know to help you teach your kid how to fish. Let's get into it. Okay, excuse my voice if I sound a little bit raspy or coughed during this, but I'm recovering from being sick, so that's why we are sitting in my house and not out on the water somewhere. Fishing is a great hobby. It's something that families can go out and enjoy together, but one thing that usually happens when you're trying to teach your family how to fish is you usually see dad getting pretty frustrated because he's trying to teach the kids how to fish and he's not getting to fish himself, right? So that's why we're making this video. I'm going to teach you some easy steps for either helping teach your kid how to fish, or maybe even you're new to fishing and you want to learn how to fish yourself. So this is something that could help you out. Okay, so dad's out there, or mom for that matter, teaching the kids how to fish. Now, there are 4 things, and we're going to get to those in just a second, but the one biggest thing that I could say that stands above all else is patience. You have to have patience with your kids when you're teaching them how to fish, because there's a lot of things that are happening either all at once or consecutively one after another in order to be able to have your kid fish on their own without needing your help. So let's start diving into some of those things, and then we'll kind of expand on some of those things from there. Okay, you probably also clicked on this video because you saw the thumbnail with a monstrous fishing hook sticking in the back of my arm right here. So let's talk about what not to do after you teach your kids how to fish to try to avoid something like that from happening, because that was pretty painful. Okay, so let's just lay those 4 things out and then we will talk about each one of them. So the first one, grip it, and then tip it, flip it, and rip it. So those are the 4 things. Grip it, tip it, flip it, and rip it. We'll talk about all 4 of those things right now. Okay, let's talk about grip. Now, I'm assuming you have already figured out how to put line on your pole and string it up and attach a hook or lure or whatever you're going to be using. So we're assuming that you already got that figured out. So grip, this is a little bit personal preference. I personally teach my kids to split the reel with your right in the middle of your hand. 2 fingers on the top, 2 fingers on the bottom. The reason for that is it's comfortable. It's right in the middle, kind of gives a good balance point on the pole itself, and you have a good grip when you actually get a bite. What I don't want to see happen, and this is what my kid always tries to do for whatever reason, put all your hands down here. If for whatever reason you get lucky and get hooked up with a huge fish, that fish has a much higher chance of ripping the whole pole straight out of your hand because you have nothing to grip onto except the reel itself right here. Whereas if you have split here, or even 1 finger, or I guess you could do 3 on top, whatever really works the most comfortable for you, you have a little bit something extra to hold on to help hold and fight that fish. So that's the grip. A little bit of personal preference, but I at least want to see at least half your hand in the middle or some other variation, but never all of your hands on the top and never all of your hands on the bottom. Okay, the next thing we're going to talk about is tip it, what I call tip it. This is probably the single most hardest thing to teach with fishing, is when you go to grab this line, if you could see that, with my pointer finger there, and then hold it back right here. That's not the hard part. The hard part is when you actually go to cast, is how you apply pressure to right here to help you cast further. It's you're kind of like snapping your finger with the line there to help you be able to cast farther. So this is the tipping part, is you're holding the line with your pointer finger and not all the way against the fishing pole like this, but just holding it there so that when you get to the next step, the flip it, which is just as simple as flipping the bail, now you're holding the line from your finger. If I were to let go, right, it's just gonna let line out and lure's just gonna fall straight down in front of you. So you have to hold a certain amount of pressure with your finger on that line, especially when you go to cast. And the reason that I have that fishing hook buried in the back of my arm is because my stepson, when he went to cast, he let go of the line too soon and he casted directly to the right instead of out in front of him. And I was standing on his right, which we'll talk a little bit more about that in a minute, where to stand when you're teaching someone how to fish so that incidents like that don't happen. So those are steps 2 and 3, right? So we're gonna tip it, which is get the line on the bail as close to the reel or close to the rod as possible, grab it, and then flip it. See, it wouldn't make sense with the line way over here to try to grab onto it, right? Because then you have to let your whole hand go, and that just doesn't make sense. So You want this set up just like that. Grab onto it, open your bail. So the last step that I mentioned is simply just rip it. And that's just like swinging a baseball bat, is as simple terms as I can put it. So once you've done all the other steps, you have the line in your finger here, you have the bail open, you got 2 hands on the fishing pole, you swing it around to the side, and you give it a good cast, and you let go that line that's on your finger, and you snap it off of there, off of your finger as best you can. There really is no way to teach how to create more resistance on this line, but the more resistance you can create right here, the more whipping action you get with the pole and the lure, and the further you can cast. You just have to do it and do it a lot and get comfortable with it, and then you'll kind of know more of what I'm talking about. But that last one, just rip it. Just reach off to the right, just like a baseball swing, and swing, and then let go. That's it, guys. It's that simple. Grip it, tip it, flip it, rip it. If we need to go more in depth on how to set the pole up, on how to put line on the fishing pole, or tie a lure on, or swivel, or something like that, we can go into that. But I'm assuming we already figured that part out, and we're just looking for a little bit more advice on how to teach our kid how to be able to do those steps. Now, like I said, that's a lot for a kid to process all at once. Like, if you watch this video right here, okay, he's 4 years old, almost 5, and he is almost fully self-sufficient to fish on his own, which is the best thing possible for me, right? Because now I can actually go and fish on my own and enjoy my time just as much as he's enjoying his time. Because as much as us dads like going out and teaching our kids how to fish, we want to fish too, right? That's why we're getting our kids into it, is because it's a hobby that we also enjoy. So if we just have to teach and hold their pole and cast the whole time for them, it's really just not as fun for us as it could be. So getting your kid to be self-sufficient and fishing on their own that's a lot for them to process. You have to do all these steps all at the same time, or one after another, to be able to do that. But now that I think about it, these kids are pretty darn smart. I mean, my stepson can get the TV remote, turn the TV on, figure out what streaming platform he wants to watch, whether it's Netflix or YouTube or Disney Plus, click on it, and then figure out what he wants to watch. So maybe we're underrating these kids and saying that this stuff is too much for them to process all at once. I don't know. You let me know what you think. I think these kids can do it though. That just goes to show, like the video you just saw, he's almost 5 now, and he's pretty much fully self-sufficient with fishing. So let's talk about what not to do, like with that fishing hook that ended up in my arm. So what happened was, it was a complete accident. I shouldn't have been standing where I was standing, first of all. It's like handing a kid a rifle and then standing down the range in front of him and saying, okay, shoot, and try not to get hit. That's basically what I did, okay? I was standing probably 30 yards or so off to his right, okay? He's right-handed, so he's casting right-handed, just like a right-handed baseball swing. And what happened was, he let that line off of his finger too soon, which I had already watched him do for a half an hour before that happened, and he was casting off to the right instead of out in front of him, because how you let that line off of your finger kind of controls where you're gonna aim as well. So if you let go really early and you swing right-handed, it's gonna go off to the right instead of straight in front of you. So I was standing probably 30 yards to his right, place I shouldn't have been standing. He went to cast, let the line off too early, and it came and whacked me right in the back of the arm. Now, unfortunately for me, I had put on basically the heaviest spinning lure that I had in my box, so that it would help him cast a little farther, because having a little extra weight helps you get out there a little farther, and of course he feels good when he's casting further out into the water. So it hurt. It tagged me right in the back of the arm, and I will take 100% responsibility for it, because I should not have been standing right there. I had just watched him for 30 minutes casting 70% of the time. He was going to hit in the water, but he was going off to the right further than he should have gone. So that was 100% my fault. I should not have been standing right there. So as a parent, stand on the opposite side of your kid from the side that they cast on. Like if they're right-handed and they're casting right-handed, stand on their left side and a little bit behind them. That way kind of helps prevent both of you from catching a hook in the arm like that. One other thing that I would probably suggest is if you're teaching a kid how to fish, give him a lure with barbless hooks. So if he does hook you or accidentally hooks himself, be a little bit easier to get the hook out. We had to end up going to the emergency room and getting that thing removed because the hook was buried way past the barb and we could not get it out even with pliers. We were trying and it was hurting way too much. So those are the 4 things. This is just supposed to be a quick little video on how to teach your kid how to fish. So have patience as the parent, because you can get frustrated really easily because it seems like such a simple task, especially if we've been fishing for a long time. But grip it, tip it, flip it, and rip it. That's it. Thanks for watching, guys. Hope you enjoyed this video. Give it a like if you thought it was beneficial for you or for somebody else you may know. Hit the subscribe button if you want to see more mountain trout fishing videos or some more how-to videos. We could put some of those together as well. And thanks for watching. We'll see ya.